Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Krypton. So in this episode, we find out that thing that they found last episode ends up being a shell for a parasite that plans on implanting itself in someone. It turns out it's like, oh man, it's gone. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, it's totally got to be in the voice of Rao. It has to be in him. But it turns out, no, this thing only arrived here like 3 days ago. So it's kind of interesting what they're setting up the storyline to be, because I was thinking like, okay, from the very beginning that the voice of Rao has to be a part of this whole thing, which who's to say he's not? But it's like, oh, there's going to be some great threat to your, Clark's future, the Superman's future. So that means something had to have changed, because obviously Krypton was originally like, oh no, the storyline's got to be, this to play out to eventually leading to Clark, ending up on Earth. So the question is like, what changed in this particular timeline of Krypton? Like obviously Brainiac attacking, like, because I thought, for me, like the thing is, Brainiac isn't supposed to be established until much later on. But the fact is, Adam hasn't said anything. I mean, Adam knows about Brainiac, but that's the thing. Like I brought up like last week's episode. Like I thought Brainiac was like part of Krypton. So I mean, the fact of the matter is that could still be something that we find out later on that he was originally born on Krypton. Nevertheless, but what if we find out that someone else summoned Brainiac? That he isn't here just by accident, that someone drew him to Krypton, or the fact of the matter is like someone from the future has come back to the past and they're drawing him in to kind of erase Superman's future. Because I'm thinking that's something we're going to find out later on, that Brainiac isn't the threat that we think he is, that maybe even Adam's kind of thinking, no, Brainiac's got to be this threat, but maybe there's another threat on Krypton that's kind of a side thing. That's the real cause of this whole Clark situation. Brainiac's maybe just a piece of a larger puzzle. It's kind of where my mindset's at, right? But, we'll continue on where we are, but I'm always going to keep that in the back of my mind, thinking that these subjects are kind of two separate things while at the same time being one and the same, So, but nevertheless, I did like the kind of keep around, like, it's like, oh, first she's fighting Rom, she finds it, and you see it's like, oh, maybe it hasn't been activated. It passes on to that dude, and it's like, oh, Adam gets it. I'm like, oh, that's a little convenient. So no, it's like either we're going to find out that that's actually not it or what. But even though that has to be it, it turns out, well, because the thing has activated, and it turns out it implanted itself in Rom, which is kind of interesting what it immediately does to you. I like that design of just like it, like turning your skin kind of like blackish gray like that to make you more mechanical, and also super strong the way she took down those Sagittari like super easily, almost like effortlessly, which is kind of the worst time for this to all to happen, because obviously you have like orders coming down to be like, yo, we need to hit the Rankless hard to find out Black Zero amongst them. Obviously this is all coming down from Darren, who's hearing this from the voice of Rao. Which, yes, the Black Zero is this, terrible group, but who's to say? Well, there's something that popped up this episode that was kind of interesting. Like, there's a member of the Black Zero, because they know quite a few of them, except for like one member in particular. You don't think that person is actually the voice of Rao? It's like, why would you do that? I mean, it could kind of all be kind of connected, because like Lyta's big thing is like, we don't want to turn the Rankless into our enemy. If we go in there stomping, pushing, acting like idiots, we're just going to cause more problems. Rather, we need to take things slow, get to know the Rankless. Don't treat them like animals, treat them like people. We get to know them and build a bond. They'll be willing to help us out and talk to us. Obviously, her mom and a lot of other people are not willing to listen. In particular, her mom. Her mom is very stubborn and stuck in her own ways and not willing to listen to Lyta. Because, most likely in her head, she'll probably think, no, Lyta's being weak. That's not how you do it. But also, it's kind of like her mom is all about following orders. These are the orders we were given, so follow them to the letter. Do not deviate. So there's that. So, but the thing is, what if whoever is, maybe that's not really the voice of Rao, maybe it's someone else pretending to be the voice of Rao to kind of stir up problems, to kind of start a civil war. I always say that weird. I never say silver, but I always feel like I do. So I always have to stop when I say civil, and because it's just the way it comes out in my mouth. Because of how I slur my words. Nevertheless, because I still think that who's ever messing with time has to be the voice of Rao. It's just kind of, I don't know. I just get the feeling like that's where we are with that, but maybe not. So it could be either the voice of Rao is trying to start that on their own, or they're a person from the future trying to destroy Krypton even earlier than it's even way before Clark is even born to kind of, maybe it's a time. I mean, it makes you want, well, because also the argument is too, like, why this particular point in time? Why not when Clark's younger? Obviously, I know that's getting into like, well, that's breaking up like the reasoning for the story and stuff like that. But I'm just curious, like, why specifically this time period? Why not go after his parents? Why go after his grandfather? I guess it's because this is a point in time when the family of L is at its weakest, and this is the best time to strike. Not only just them, but Krypton too. Which then again is like, because of those whole time travel thing, who's to say that this person hasn't been laying in wait and they set everything up to kind of go against Val? Obviously, Darren has to play some role in this because obviously he's pushing everything hard too, but that's because he's being pushed hard by the voice of Ral. So, but the whole thing is like, you have Lyta trying to handle things a very different way. Like, yes, things are going to go down this way anyway, but she's like, do not fire a gun, treat these people like people and not trying to treat them just because they're rankless, like, once again, animals. Obviously, she's the commander, so she, like, most of her soldiers are listening, except for one in particular. She kind of like, well, the moment the dead body started showing up with the Sagittarii, she kind of snapped, and she ended up killing an innocent person. But I did like that Lyta did what she did, and not only did she do it, she did it in public too, so that the Rankless did see what she did. I don't know if that's going to mean much, but I think it will put things in a more positive spin because it will make them go, okay, so the Sagittarii are being monitored. I mean, not everyone's going to look at it like a Lyta, but Lyta ends up having the lady arrested because it's like, oh, you were really threatened by a person with their hands bound, So they were really a threat to you. And so immediately, they didn't go over this in the episode because obviously Darren wants to kind of like, he's like, oh, I'm going to tell the truth. Either him or, once again, I'm blanking on like I see her name and I want to say Nissa. I think that's what I've been saying, but it might be like Nisa. Nisa might be how you properly pronounce it. Either way, I kind of blank on it sometimes. Like, but when I see her name written down, I'm like, I think of Nissa from Arrow. So that's why I'm kind of like, it can't be Nissa because there's already a Nissa, and that'll. I mean, I guess because someone will make the comparison of like, well, Martha and Martha because of Batman v Superman, which like that's kind of like a running joke, but it's like that didn't bother me. I'm just gonna put that out there. It's like, really, I don't care. It's a thing. It's like, well, it's such a contrivance that people get so caught up on. Like, it's kind of like for some people, it's like, oh, that's the worst part of the movie. It's like, whatever you say, dude. I don't care. I like the movie, so I'm just going to leave it at that. I've kind of already established how I feel about everything. Nevertheless, so it's a big comic book universe. This is literally taking place on another planet. Characters can have the same name across solar systems and universes and stuff like that. Nevertheless, I'm wondering what she's got up her sleeve because even she's being reluctant to let her dad tell the truth. But I guess it's because if her dad gets taken down, that would kind of take away her power. Like, everything she's doing, all the maneuvering all the plans she has, I'm sure it's because she's trying to make a power play herself. Because I'm sure when it's all said and done, she'll probably kill her dad just to remove him from the equation. It's like, oh, let all like the Vex power kind of flow to her. Maybe. But the thing I was thinking of is when it's all said and done, either Darren or his daughter is going to say that Sagittarii that was arrested, it's like, oh yeah, actually, she's part of Black Zero. It's like, wait, what? Oh my God, Lyta did an amazing job. Like, Lyta, I keep saying Lyta. Lyta did an amazing job, trying to spin it like that so they make it seem like they are doing something, that they are catching Black Zero. I kind of get the inkling it's going to happen like that. Maybe it won't be, but we'll have to wait and see. Especially because, Lyta did it again. Kind of disobeyed her mom. It's like, oh yeah, head to this communication place because it's being attacked by Rom. All while you have Sir Seg, but damn it, I'm messing up everywhere. Sorry, is trying to stop her. Obviously, he doesn't want to kill her, but it's like he ends up using a disruptor that kind of knocked her out. I mean, like I said, it shows that she is becoming more hardware than. Becoming more electronic than human, just the way her body looks and everything, which is so sick. I'm loving the design that they're already setting that up to be, but like that infection. It's like, oh, we needed, she was trying to download and upload data. It's like, no, it turns out she was actually trying to, she's actually the signal. So it's already too late. Brainiac is on his way. But sadly, the thing about Rom is in her condition, there's no saving her because if they try to remove the thing from her, it's the only thing keeping her alive. So that's a hard situation. And at the same time, Lyta finds out from Seg, Every time I think of his name, I want to say Surge for some reason. Like, I guess just Seg just doesn't come natural to me. Surge, for whatever reason, I guess because of Chrono Cross, comes a lot more natural to me than Seg. But nevertheless, he does tell her. I was thinking as I was like, oh my god, is she going to come to the Fortress of Solitude? Okay, you trust her, but not trust her enough to bring her there. I mean, she's on duty and everything, and that would probably turn into an issue of like, oh, where are you going? And where have you been type of thing. Nevertheless, we'll see. He did say that my grandfather was right, that there's something coming our way. Obviously didn't go in all the details, but Lyta saw for herself. And it's like, well, we should tell, everyone else because they'll listen to us, which is like, no, because the moment Val tried to tell anyone what happened to him, he was sentenced to death. So the same thing is going to happen to Seg. They'll just sweep it all underneath the rug. And if you cause too much of a fuss, they'll probably sweep you on the rug. Even with you being your mother's daughter, you'll probably still be something that they do like that. But I don't know, especially because he knows he can't trust Vex. So there's no one else he can really turn to. It's something that they kind of have to do all on their own. So, like I said, there's a lot going on. There's the whole politics that's happening on Krypton. They're literally about to be invaded by a sentient world destroyer, world collector in a sense, but still destroyer. Also dealing with this terrorist group known as Black Zero. All the while we potentially have a time traveler other than Adam all screwing with history here. So there are literally 4 things all happening at once. Once again, it's a situation that they seem like they might be separate things, but who's to say they're not all different yet the same problem? All stemming from the same issue, but ultimately we'd have to wait and see. Interesting thing is we do seem like Adam's little Zeta thing isn't working as well, because he was even talking to Val about, which I was wondering about that, because the first episode it kind of seemed like it kind of kicked in whenever, and it seemed like it does kind of put a strain on his body. I don't know if the technology had been perfected in that time between him being there the first time. Maybe that was kind of like the first full trial run of it, and so it was limited for how long he could get back. But now maybe he perfected it, so now he can come and go. But now it's like, well, I'm kind of stuck here, so I kind of need to work on it so I can make sure that I have a way back to the future. So there's that. Like I said, really, I am curious to see what happens. Because obviously a lot of people are left with a lot of questions about what went down at that communication situation. Only people who know the truth are Sag and Lyta, and eventually it might get to the point that she believing, that the higher ups need to know. She might at one point end up telling them the truth, or Nisa might change her, whatever she is. Like, she's like, oh, you've got your secret, Sag, but don't worry, I've got my own. So it's like, because she pretty quickly figures out that Seg, and there's something between Seg and Lyta, which I am curious, like, she's going to use that to leverage over him, because obviously at this point in time, like, as she planned last episode, he does think of her as an ally, which we know he shouldn't, but we'll see how that all goes and how that all turns out. But I'm curious to see what happens with this whole Brainiac situation too, because it's like, this is an imminent threat, and what's going to happen when it's all, like, obviously Seg's going to do all he can to try and make everyone and prepare everyone for the coming. But once again, what happened to his grandfather when he tried to do the same thing? They ended up killing him. So how will Seg do that? How will he save his world? I'm also curious to see what they do with Lyta going forward too, because obviously a big part of this episode too is living with her decisions. It's something that she ends up talking to Dev about. Like, Dev is kind of like your commander now. You can't doubt yourself, which is easy to do, with what you've done and what you will have to do. And in her position, it's like she had to kill a man to do what she's doing now. But it's kind of that situation that she killed one man so she could be in position to save many lives. But now with things kind of being as they are, things are going to spiral out of control. They've got dead Sagittari, Lyta not taking orders, but maybe it'll kind of get spun and it's like, no, Lyta did the right thing. She did protect her people because, she had a traitor amongst her type of thing. Like I said, we'll have to wait and see. But also, like, when it's all said and done, like, you're trying your best, You have to make certain compromises to do what you want to do and do what you need to do. So to make things happen better, to make a change, you have to make the change from the inside. Kind of what Sega's kind of doing with the whole Science Guild situation and the Vex relationship. Because he's like, I might not be an L anymore, but I won't be a Vex, So I might be bound to your daughter, but I would never have your name. And I'm so curious to see like how this all plays out going forward. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.